The greatest moment at Minute Maid Park took place on October 9, 2005. In 1986, the Houston Astros and New York Mets would play in what was considered by many one of baseball's greatest playoff games. It was a 16-inning thriller with many game-changing moments and was one of those games where fans were glued to their seats and wouldn't even leave to get concessions. 19 years later, the Astros would play another game exactly like that, and it would equal that game, if not top it. The Astros were playing the Atlanta Braves in the National League Division Series, which was a rematch of the previous year's divisional playoffs, which was won by the Astros in 5 games. In the '05 series, the Astros would take a 2-1 lead like they did the year before. Starting in Game 4 were Tim Hudson for the Braves, looking to atone for his Game 1 loss, and Brandon Backey for the Astros. The Braves would strike first in the 3rd inning. With a runner at first and 2 outs, Backey would have some control issues and load the bases on a walk and a hit batsman. Adam LaRoche would come to the plate and hit a grand slam to put the Braves ahead 4-0. Backey would settle down for the next 2 innings, but in the 5th, the Braves would threaten to break the game open, putting runners at 2nd and 3rd with nobody out and Andrew Jones coming to the plate. Jones would hit a sac fly to extend the lead to 5 and chase Backey. Mike Gallo would come in, and the Braves would load the bases against him, but Gallo would get out of it. Then, in the bottom of the 5th, it was the Astros' turn. They loaded the bases with 1 out, but could only get 1 run. For the next 2 innings, the Braves would have more opportunities to tack on more runs, but could not do so, and the Astros couldn't do anything against Hudson either. Going into the 8th inning, the score remained 5-1, and it looked like the Braves for the 2nd straight year were going to force a Game 5. It looked even more likely when Brian McCann led off with a home run, which looked like it would just be insurance, but it would make a bigger difference than anyone could have expected. After pitching 7 strong innings and with his team leading 6-1, Hudson remained in the game. However, the Astros would finally get to him by putting runners at 1st and 2nd with nobody out. Kyle Farnsworth would come in and try to get the game to the 9th. He would retire the first batter, but after a double steal, he would walk Luke Scott to load the bases and bring up the dangerous Lance Berkman. Big Puma would hit a home run over the left field fence, narrowing the lead to 1. Farnsworth would retire the next 2 hitters, but the Astros, despite being down to their last 3 outs, were back in it. In the bottom of the 9th, the game remained 6-5, and Farnsworth stayed in to try to close it out. He retired the first 2 hitters, and it looked like the series was going to head back to Atlanta. Brad Osmus would come to the plate as the Astros' last hope, and Farnsworth would get to 2 strikes on him. Osmus would then hit a fly ball into left center that would hit off one of the pillars above the fence, and he trotted to second base thinking he had a double, but then the ball got ruled a home run since it hit above the yellow line on top of the outfield fence and the game was tied. The ball easily could have been ruled a double, but the home run call would be pivotal, as Farnsworth would strike out the next hitter, which could have ended the game, but would send the game to extra innings. But after all the drama and excitement that had already occurred, the crowd of 43,413 hadn't seen nothing yet. After the Braves left the go-ahead run stranded at second in the top of the 10th, Lance Berkman would come to the plate in the bottom of the inning with 2 outs and a line double to center. Chris Burke would pinch run for him. Following an intentional walk, Jeff Bagwell, with the most home runs in Astros history, came to the plate to pinch hit but would fly out. Then in the top of the 11th, Brad Lidge, who had come into his own as one of the game's most dominant closers, came in to keep it a tie game. However, he would get into trouble. Rafael Furcal led off with a walk, and after a failed bunt attempt, he'd steal second with Chipper Jones at the plate. Following a walk to Chipper, he'd retire Andrew Jones on a strikeout, but with Julio Franco up, Furcal would steal third, and Chipper would take second on indifference. Lidge, however, would get Franco to ground out, keeping the game tied. The Braves would put the tying run scoring position again in the 12th, but Lidge would get out of it again. Dan Wheeler would replace Lidge in the 13th inning and retire the side in order. The Astros would also be held scoreless in their half, and in the 14th, the Braves would threaten for the third time in 4 innings. They would load the bases with 1 out, but Wheeler would strike out Brian McCann and get pinch hitter Pete Orr to hit into a forced play. The game would remain tied in the bottom of the 15th inning. After Craig Biggio led off with a walk, 300-game winner Roger Clemens came into the game to pinch hit with orders to bunt. With the crowd cheering him on, he laid down a successful sacrifice, putting Biggio in scoring position. Chris Burke came to the plate and would walk to put 2 on with just 1 out, but Morgan Ensberg would hit into a double play, sending the game to the 16th. Clemens would come up to pitch in the top of the 16th, hoping to atone for his loss in Game 2. He would retire the side in order, striking out 2, but the Astros would once again be held scoreless in their half. Then in the top of the 17th, with 1 out and nobody on, Brian Jordan, who had a flair for the dramatic in the postseason in late innings, came up to pinch hit. He would hit a double to center, and 1 out later would stand on third base with Marcus Giles coming to the plate. Rocket would get 2 strikes on him, and with the game on the line and the crowd on its feet, Giles would strike out, sending the game to the bottom of the 17th, still tied at 6. The game would remain tied in the bottom of the 18th, with Clemens leading off, expected to pitch the 19th should the game go that far. Joey Devine, pitching his 2nd straight inning of work for the Braves, would strike Clemens out, sending up Chris Burke. When Burke came in to pinch run the 10th, not even he expected to make a major difference in the game, but he would do exactly that when he hit a fly ball into left field that kept carrying and would go over the fence for a home run, winning the series for the Astros and sending them to their 2nd straight NLCS, in which they would defeat the St. Louis Cardinals and be the first Texas team ever to play in a World Series.